Hey everybody, welcome to The Mind Shift. This is a podcast where we explore living a life without limits. I'm Sridhar, I'm a mindset and growth specialist, and my very special guest today is Nathan Miglani. Nathan, welcome to the podcast. Really glad you're here.
Thanks, Sridhar. Great to catch up, and always got time for you.
I'm really been looking forward to this one, Nathan. This work is about two things, really. It's about living our best life, which is about all the things we want to achieve in life and making the most of it, but it's also about the authentic journey on the inside. And, when I think of you, your level of dedication to both of those things, say 200% on both pursuits. And I've really been looking forward to this conversation because you'll just have some really, really great gems to share with people, just with your sincerity of your dedication. So, to start off, I usually just say, the work we do is quite a bit different and in a lot of ways. And I just start with the question, if there's something out there, the viewer or listener of this podcast is listening in and saying, I want to live my life without limits. I want to learn something about that. What would you say? I know you've been at the work for a while, I think about 6 years, but what comes to mind as the number one thing you would share with people about what you've experienced about living a life without limits?
Yeah, thanks, Sridhar. And yes, interestingly, we've been working together and sort of on and off different capacity for nearly coming 7 years now, actually, 2019. So
That's
the time just flies. And I think the biggest thing for me that I took from all the years we've worked together is being aware. Being aware is the single most powerful thing someone can do to make sure they're living their best life, both personal and business. And surprisingly, it takes a lot of time to actually go into that level to find how you can be fully aware.
And so if I'm out there listening and I'm intrigued and I think, well, what does Nathan mean by awareness? So when you talk about awareness, what does that look like? Like when you've got into the work and what does that mean to you?
Yeah, look, being aware, are you doing everything that's making you happy, right? So previously I was just pushing myself so much on all angles, personal, business, doing better, being better, more, achieving more, writing big numbers. And I think it was quite important for me to realize I'm actually not sure where I'm driving from and where I'm driving to. And I realized that everything I was doing for so many years of pushing myself to the next limit, it was purely driven by a story. So being aware, where are you driving from and where are you driving to? So I guess that's the most powerful thing you can do, by really taking time to sit down and just make sure you need to be aware. Are you actually living life that's giving you peace and happiness, or are you just living a life that's you're constantly chasing for more and more?
I mean, this is a really powerful start, Nathan, because, when you talked about big numbers, so just for the listener or viewers' benefit, so you're in the financial arena, one of our country's top mortgage brokers, if that's the right term, mortgage advisors, I think it is now. Very, very successful for a number of years. So the question I would have for you is if we think about it, we really celebrate drive. I've been in the personal development game or industry for quite a long time, some decades now. A lot of it, you look out there and it's trying to teach you how to be driven, right? That's our personal development, is how to get more drive, how to achieve more. But this is really interesting. What you're saying is that drive wasn't necessarily serving you, right? So can you tell us a little bit more about what was that like when you had, what did you discover about drive and what was it like before you did?
The most interesting thing for me was I still remember the day when I made my first million, right? I was extremely happy. I think I couldn't sleep that night. For a migrant coming from absolutely zero money in this country, worked in all sorts of odd jobs. When you make your first $1 million is a big money, right? So that was exciting. That was really exciting. When I made my second million, I don't think so I was happy at all. When I made my third million, I was not even aware of it. Yeah. The whole thing was just looking like a movie, which was not a real movie at all. I was pushing myself from all the angles. And I started asking myself, how can be a migrant came here with absolutely nothing. Now you're achieving everything you could have ever dreamed and desire, and you're not happy. So I started really asking that question at a very deeper and a regular level. And that impacts your mood, your relationship with your partner, your relationship with your kids, the relationship with your colleagues. It was constant battle of, I'm working so hard. Why I'm actually working so hard? Why I'm not happy? Why I'm not happy?
Yeah.
And that resulted in having a chat with some really close friends and how I met you in 2019. And yeah, it took me a long time to really understand what was really driving me. And
yeah, but I think, it's a really big thing, Nathan, because when people, as you say, you came with nothing, and, the how we've learned to do it is work hard, the hard work will get you there. And you're one of those people that got to a point where you said, well, it's a really courageous thing to do, because there's a lot of trappings that come with that level of success, right? You want to, it's hard to get off that wheel, so to speak. And, the fact that you said, hey, this is not quite right, and decide to do something about it is really extraordinary. And it's something where I think a lot of people would get a lot out of what you're saying. But what I think we'd all like to know is so what did you discover about what that drive was? So, when you arrived in the country with nothing, you got driven, and what did you find? Like, at some point you probably achieved everything, and then you're like,
everything.
I can't stop.
When I was literally writing in our mortgage broking business, if you're writing 75 million, you consider it as a good broker, right? You're writing 75, 100 million. In the peak of the market, I was writing by myself $245 million dollar worth of mortgages, all by myself with the help of amazing people in my office, but I was not genuinely satisfied. Quite a number of years when I realized the real story, what was driving the root cause of me performing constantly at a level that was not normal. I was doing 50 appointments a week. Yeah. 60 appointments a week, face-to-face. It was crazy, absolutely crazy, and achieved everything what I could. But deep inside, I was just pretty miserable. So when I find out what was really driving this, and I was surprised, there was a penny drop moment. I still remember the day. It was my sister's divorce that was really impacting my whole last 10 years, how I worked. In all different capacities, right? So working from Harvey Norman, writing big numbers at Harvey Norman, at the bank, and writing big numbers at the bank, and just constantly achieving more and more and more without stopping to realize that it was my sister's divorce that was really running the story for the last 10 years. Because unfortunately in our Indian culture, when your daughter or your sister gets divorced, it's not considered as a nice thing in society. Yeah. And it's a very hard thing for a family to go through. It's quite emotionally challenging for the whole family, right? But what I took from that story was that we are worthless. Yeah. We are poor. And the crazy thing is that I come from a very well-to-do family.
Yeah, if I needed, that's one of the key things about it is, we call them stories for a reason, right? So if you think, I know, being from an Indian background is quite a big thing to have a divorce, like societally. Yeah. But if you think about it, at the end of the day, excuse me, at the end of the day, it doesn't mean anything. And it's the stories that you created the story. Like how do you go from my sister's got a divorce to I'm worthless? And it's really interesting how stories work, because you weren't poor, but the mind says you're poor, right?
No, I'm the youngest one in the family, and people who know me quite well, they know I was a spoiled child. I used to just have a great time and just used to love my life back home. And if I need $100, I'll get $100 from my dad. I'll get $200 from my brother. I'll get probably $300 from my sister, and probably get $500 from my mum. So this is how spoiled I was. So there was never a shortage of money at all at home. But I felt for so many years that we are worthless, we are poor. That had a huge impact. But now, after doing all the work, and sincere thanks to you, I realized that my sister divorced had absolutely nothing to do with me. It was just the timing, and it actually had nothing to do with me at all.
So for the listener that's not had any experience with this kind of work, when you say you did the work, because that's a pretty profound thing to say, for years you you felt like you were worthless and poor, and then now, like, you can hear it in your voice when you say and see it that there just isn't anything there for you. So when you say I did the work, like, you don't have to say everything that we've done, but what would you say to people? Like, how do you go from one to the other like this?
It's just being aware and having a mental clarity of that there are lots of different stories that run your day-to-day life. I think it's super important to just stop on a regular basis. Could be weekly for you, could be fortnightly for someone, could be a retreat for someone. For me, it was just an ongoing guidance of I really need to find the root cause. And it just took me quite a number of years to go to the bottom of it. But when I found that inner peace, it was absolutely fantastic. Every decision I make in my life now is based on pure logic and practicality. Yes, emotions play a huge part of your life, but running your life with just pure emotion is not ideal because you're not really building the true relationship with people.
Yeah, and the thing is those emotions are coming from the stories, aren't they? Like when we have these emotional reactions, or you feel like you have to, because if you think about that drive, there was a lot of emotion behind that drive, right? The thing is that you're, growing and growing and writing big numbers and bigger numbers and bigger numbers, but the stress never left, did it? The chase never left. And so that those emotions, that's a stressful state.
The crazy thing is, Sridhar, I still write decent numbers. I'm still working hard, but my enjoyment and my peace is at a level I've never experienced before. My relationship with my colleagues is a lot different what it used to be. Relationship with my friends, every relationship needs time. Every single relationship, whether it's a friendship, your relationship with your wife, your kids, it just needs time. It needs communication. It needs an honest and open communication. The biggest issue I see, number one these days, people just don't communicate. And if you don't communicate, how the hell are you going to get an answer what the real problem is? And I've started to just communicate with everyone at a level I've never experienced before. My colleagues in the office, my mates, I used to sit down with them in my previous life thinking, okay, I'm catching up with you. What's in it for you? What's in it for me? I've never looked at relationships as there is no so that in it. And thanks for all your help over the last few years. I think there was the penny drop moment for me when I realized you cannot look at every relationship with a benefit. You need to really go with the view, okay, we are friends. There is no so that. Let's talk about so that, because we talk about that in the work, right? So what that really means is that without really realizing it, when we're with someone, we often have this hidden motive in the background, right? So we think we're just doing something to be nice. Like, even when people are trying to be nice, it's like, I'm being nice so that they will like me, or I'm being nice so that they'll give me what I want. And so like, it's a motive, and when we think we're actually being nice to other people, we're not, because we're just thinking about ourselves and what we can get out of it. So, and it's the fear. It's the fear of judgment, and I think it's a fear of what people will think of you. I think I made so many wrong decisions in my life over the last few years. It was purely from a fear in mind. If I am a good salesman, I'm not a good CEO. I've got to hire someone who is better at what I'm not good at. Then I'm thinking, I'm here, that person is here. It's never a good start. What I've learned from the work, you got to do the pros and cons, and you really need to write down the pros needs to match the cons. And for me, it was more every decision I'm making for hiring decision is that has a logic in it. And not every day will be sunshine and roses, but for me, it's every decision now is purely being aware. Is this serving me? Is this giving me pure energy, or is it taking energy away from me? Do I actually really want to work with you? Do I want to work with someone, if I'm pointing one finger at you, 3 fingers are coming back? So that's also what I've learned. Before blaming someone, you really need to think, is there anything I could have done better?
Or what's my part in it, right? So one of the things that strikes me about you, because you really going deep with us, which I appreciate. That's why we really want this podcast to be different, that it goes really deep and gets real about how this change occurs, because it isn't easy. And you're doing a really great job for us to share what life was like, and and what it is, like what you've done through that awareness. And from what, I know you quite well because we've worked together for a long time. And what occurs to me is that your life has got a lot more broad. So instead of that, 50 appointment weeks, it's like your life is so much more enriched that, I know you've had big changes in your relationship to the positive. You're a father, so you've had big, more presence there with your family. And but rather than me say, like, what's life like? Like, how has it changed from that? You shared with us what it used to be when you were run from a story. Mm-hmm. What's it like when you just have that awareness and the story's not operating?
Sure. It's just realizing, what do I value? What do I really value? And what I've learned so far with all the work we've done, you've got values like career, financial, personal, your relationships, your spiritual, mental, physical, social, and I've started to just put those values together now. Who do I value the most? My biggest value is not my career anymore. My biggest value is my relationship with my kids. Yeah. Do they actually really look up to me as a role model? That's more important to me than any millions I'm going to make in future. A lot of times success people look at what I've got. I've got nice home, nice car, good lifestyle, but are you truly happy and truly fulfilled? Yeah. So I just really every day I'll try to work on my values. Yes, everyone wants to create a strong financial security for their family, but I think my relationships with my even clients, not just my family, my relationship with my clients has completely changed. I'm not an order taker anymore. I'm here to help you and guide you authentically. Yeah. If you're not going to listen to my advice, I'm just not the right broker for you. You go and work with someone else.
You said something to me, which is that when you woke up to the "so that," right, it was one of the big things when I remember you just said, I can just see, because, we all do it. So it's not just you. Like we all have these hidden motives. I remember you coming and saying, I got that, I got that when I'm in these relationships. I have this so that, and when you dropped it, I remember you coming to me and saying, like, I just serve my clients now because it's a genuine relationship.
And it's just not only clients, it could work in your office. You're spending 10 hours a day of your life in a space that can have a real impact on your personal life as well. So I started taking that quite seriously a few years ago because I was doing a lot of stuff unconsciously that had a lot of impact on not just me, but other people too, right? So, and there was one moment in particular, I was having some really issues with a staff member. I still remember discussing with you that, hey, look, I think I'm going to let her go. And the real issue was actually not in her, but the real issue was how I looked at things. So when I changed my perspective, everything got changed.
Yeah, I mean, that's a big thing to say, right? It's a common thing that we look at in the work as, people will come and say, once we've done the work together, they'll say, I have a problem staff member. And, I always say, they'll say, well, will you work with a staff member? And I say, yeah, but I'd like to do something first. I'd like to do some work with you.
Yeah.
And like we did. Yeah. And then we see that what we're projecting out on that person is actually perpetuating the problem.
Absolutely.
And when we remove that, they can change.
The stuff that I'm aware of now, I was simply not aware at all before, right? So a hustler can never be a good CEO. End of the story. Yeah. A hustler can never be a CEO. A hustler can be a CEO with right tools, guidance, support, executive level coaching, learning from people who are operating at a level. All I knew was just writing numbers. Yeah. I'm genuinely enjoying being a manager now, right? I enjoy not just managing people. I hate the word manage people. It's just working with people.
Let us know, because for the people that don't know you and don't know your background, like, because you were talking about how this, this is one of the really inspiring things, is that you have this, life where it's full and it's enriched with all these relationships, and you've changed, but your career hasn't gone backwards, has it? So let us know because you've developed in that as well.
Our numbers have actually gone up than what they were last year. I've spent more time with my kids over the last 12 to maybe 24 months than I've spent over the last 6 years. Yeah. I've had that relationship with my friends at a level I've never experienced before, because I'm not operating from a motive. I'm not operating from, I'm catching up with my mate. I'm calling them, hey, do you want to go and watch a movie? And I've never experienced that level of groundness before. It's pretty special.
Yeah.
And I think everyone should definitely spend some time to really ask that question, are you living your best life?
Yeah, and what do you really want? Like I had someone, that was a person that I hadn't spoken with before, and we were talking about, had this kind of conversation, and he just said something that was like, he assumed that this was going to make the success in the business lower, right? As a result, because we were talking about the balance and doing these things. And I said, if people come to this work and they end up doing worse, they get less successful, I wouldn't have a job, you know? And I think the cool thing that what we're really wanting to get across for people to know, because we're dedicated to people living their best lives, is that you don't get less successful. When you get genuinely true, you move from that drive to that inspiration, you actually get more successful, but you're not just more successful in your work, you're more successful across all the different aspects of your life.
Absolutely. I still remember the day when I decided to merge a business with Squirrel. It was probably one of the hardest and biggest decisions of my life. And if I look back 18 months later, it's probably one of the best decisions I took. I was spending nearly $250K every year on the software development. My accounting bill was nearly 70-80K. My legal expense was 50 to 80K. And I had to just get real. Am I running a software development legal business, or am I actually a mortgage broking business? So, and that level of clarity gave me a really clear vision. What do I really want from my life, right? I'm a good mortgage broker. I love what I do. I love my connection with my clients, and I want to give them an honest, straight advice they really need to hear. Not what they want, what a really genuine advice.
Yeah.
Every day I've got clients, they're looking at selling their property in Bishopdale or Holswell, want to build a home in Kashmir. And I'm telling them, great, but I don't think so. Your audio is matching your video, right? So I don't think so you are in a position to do that, because you're not performing at a level you should be performing. And having that level of honest communication with your clients is just so important.
Yeah, which is not easy, because, you know, they could get upset. They could, you know, maybe even say, I don't want to talk to you anymore. But in the end, it's what's right for them, isn't it?
And on the flip side, I've got a few clients, I'm encouraging them, don't make a decision out of fear. You're just living in a fear. Go and buy that property, because your history is great. So just encouraging them on the other side to really take some steps that's going to help them achieve the financial freedom.
Yeah, well, great. Look, when you were bringing that up, it reminded me, you know, one of the kind of important developments in your work, because, you know, you've been very successful for quite a long time. And I remember you know, had this decision about what do you do with the business, right? You were getting offers and really having to look at, you know, what to do. You were talking about the positives and the negatives, and you had a few times where, you know, you had opportunities, and you had some real courage in going, no, that's not the right one. That's not the right one. And then when Squirrel came along, you know, you really just got connected with yourself and said, yeah, that's the way forward.
Still remember the day flying up to Nelson to really get a clarity on, is the decision that I want? Is it got emotions in it? Or is it practical? Is it logical? I still remember the day flying to Nelson, spending half day with you, doing the clarity session, and I exactly knew that's probably the best decision for me. So, and hand on heart, the experience I'm gaining with some phenomenal people, it's just taking my knowledge to the next level. I'm surrounded with people that are so experienced. It's next level. I think the level of exposure I've got, having how a CFO operates, how a CEO operates, how a COO operates. How do you manage $1 billion of funds? How do you work everything all together? It's phenomenal, and I think I'm very proud to be a part of that fantastic organization that's really changing the status quo of how people should look at their finances.
Well, I think it says something about you too, right? Like we talk a lot about manifesting the life that you want to have in this work. And, you know, when I think about you saying, you know, I know your story quite well. You know, you came to New Zealand, you didn't have anything, you know, you just took whatever job, like in a gas station and, you know, petrol station, and you know, worked through the shops, and then as a salesperson. And then, you know, when you think about now, you could just see the manifestation. Like you can see the two parts of this work in play, which is one, you're getting more peaceful in yourself and more self-aware. And on the other, when you talk about these things, to go from that salesperson to this, in a relatively short period of time is really inspiring to hear. Like when when your drive turns to inspiration and you start just pulling in your life, now you're at that level, learning everything at that level. And then, you're still quite a young man. So how far
it's
there to go
it's quite
for you?
interesting going from a salesperson mentality to a CEO mentality and a manager mentality. And it's actually pretty interesting. The more you get to know how people behave and what do they want, and you start to just put the pieces together and still tell them what we want to achieve. But as long as you are looking after them in a way that's balanced, that's super important. And then previously, you can have $3,000 bonus, you can have $5,000 bonus. Cool, we'll do that. Just being a yes man, because I was operating from a fear in mind. What if he or she left? Then I'm stuffed. For me, it was just being aware and letting go of the story has just really created a lot of peace in my life.
Well, Nathan, just one last question. Like if somebody wants to start their mind shift journey, right, their journey to a life without limits, what would you suggest for them as a starting point?
Take some time off. Take some time off and really ask a question. Is there any area of my life, could be professional or personal, that I'm genuinely not happy with? And take half a day or so. I remember a good mutual friend, Kaushik, once said, one day of deep learning can save you a decade worth of hard work. I think he posted somewhere, or he said something that got imprinted in my brain, that a day of deep soul thinking can save you a decade worth of hard work. So if you're not happy, that's okay. Seek help. Seek help.
And look within, right? Have the courage to look within and really honestly ask that question. Not where am I happy on the surface, but go deep, right? And where, in the quiet moments, where you're really, really unhappy and what's not working. Well, there's been a lot that you've shared with us, a lot to unpack in this one, Nathan, for everyone. I knew that you would have some really powerful things to say, powerful gems. You've been on an incredible journey with such courage and honesty. It's a real pleasure to work with you and see the dedication that you've got to the work. And you've shared with people, some really, really great things today that can make a difference for them. And that's what we want to do here. So I just want to say thank you for coming. I knew you were going to have some great things to share with us, and you certainly come through with a lot of that. So, hey, thank you for coming, Nathan.
Thanks, Sridhar.
Thanks for being yourself.
It was always great catching up with you. Thanks very much.
Awesome. Thank you. And thanks for watching this episode of The Mind Shift. We'll see you next time for more conversation on how to live a life without limits.